Hi, I'm Bianca Davis. I'm the news editor of the University Star, and we are here doing candidate interviews for the 2011 ASG elections. And here with me I have Shanna Schultz, who is running for vice president as part of the Schultz campaign. So Shanna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm a transfer student from East Houston, Texas. I graduated from community college at San Jacinto College with an associate's degree in communication. I transferred here to join the Texas State debate team.
Cool. So what first drew you here to Texas State?
Well, the first thing that drew me to Texas State was actually our state tournament while I was still in community college. I came to Texas State to compete here for debate actually, and I wandered around campus during my downtime and I just fell in love with the scenery. People came up and talked to me. I didn't even go here, and they were so friendly and I really enjoyed it. And then when I continued my investigation about where I wanted to go to school, I knew I wanted to study political science. So I did I went to guest lectures, some at UT, some at A&M, and of course here, and I fell in love with the faculty.
Why do you want to be vice president?
I want to be vice president for numerous amounts of reasons, mainly because I think I have the skills and the ability to really unify the student body. As vice president, my sole objective is to lead the Senate and the Graduate House of Representatives, and by doing so, it's my responsibility to make sure that I represent a unified voice, not a divisive body, not an indecisive body, but moreover to develop those leaders, to develop potential new vice presidents and new presidents, not only of ASG, but of their organizations as well.
What is the biggest problem you see now with how the Senate is run, and how would you change this?
The Senate and the Graduate House of Representatives typically are not run in necessarily a poor manner, but rather a manner that has been recycled through several administrations. I think that what the ASG as a whole needs is new, innovative, and creative ideas for not only how to lead the Senate and the Graduate House, but how to even construct the way our committees operate, how they go and do outreach, how they formulate new legislation, how they investigate that legislation, and then make it more feasible, make it more productive, and make it more palatable to the administration. So when it comes to leading the Senate, it's not so much a matter of running it poorly or successfully, it's a matter of changing the way it has been to making it more successful in the future.
In what ways will the upcoming Senate reach out to the students?
There's so many ways that the Schultz campaign, first and our initiatives, have ways for us to outreach in new and unique ways. But because I'm running as vice president, I would like to share my ideas with how I think the Senate should functionally work. In the past, we've had 4 committees that focused on internal issues, external issues, university issues, and community issues. And that's well and fine, but it's clear that for the past administrations, it's not being as effective as what it needs to be. If our voter turnout is only 10%, clearly our message isn't getting out there. So what that calls for is something new. My vision for how the Senate will operate, as well as the committees, is to divide them into 3 larger committees with special subcommittees inside of those. Now, these subcommittees will be very specific and deal with issues that come through the legislature. So, for example, if you were in a committee that deals with community issues and a legislation about the environment came up, you would be on the subcommittee for environmental concerns. But not only would it be your ability to review the legislation, make revisions, as well as make a formal recommendation to the committee, there would be a student advisor to there. So that could be anyone from water aid to heat to whatever environmental organization was interested in taking on that leader position. So not only were you having a diverse student input, but as well as having that unique perspective that comes from whatever the legislation is calling for. I think that the best way to outreach to the student body is to have those interpersonal dynamics and to have those interpersonal communications and reach out to those organizations rather than just standing in the quad saying, we're here, come talk to us. We need to make the concerted effort to go and talk to them first.
You want to expand the health center to help victims of sexual abuse and hire a licensed psychiatrist. But how can this be accomplished given our current staff hiring freeze?
Okay, so that's more of the 3rd tier of our Victims of Sexual Assault Assistance Center. That's something we want to push for, though we know there's going to be great resistance. So even if we can't get a licensed psychologist, which is like an MD doctorate, usually very pricey, it would be better to have a therapist, which could also formulate the same way. Or we could even get like our nurse practitioners trained specifically so they could write prescriptions for such a thing. But the bigger focus is to raise awareness and to create resources and counseling and support, which is something the Counseling Center does have feasible, because the support system doesn't necessarily have to be somebody with a specific title. It could be anything from mentoring groups to peer leadership towards working with the city on creating kinds of mentoring programs, and that's something that is feasible within the Counseling Center.
Okay. I noticed on your Facebook that you have a profile picture of Gretchen from Recess and also of Jean Grey from X-Men. Which one do you relate to more?
That's a certainly complicated answer. I would probably have to relate mostly to Gretchen from Recess, because she's very smart, very nerdy, has a very select group of friends, and that's typically how my life has been through high school all the way through college. Even though my friend circle has expanded, I'm always the person that has like the techie information or knows what's going on in the news or whatever. I even have glasses and I have red hair.
All right. If you could have dinner with any dead past historical figure, who would it be and why?
Whew. So many. It would probably have to be, and this will sound really strange, it'll have to probably be Sylvia Plath. Even though she's well known for being like a depressive emo writer, she had such inspiring literature to me as a teenager who was going through those kinds of emotional turmoil, which I guess all teenagers go through, and she really inspired me not to go down the road that she took, but to make my own path, and I would really like to have her insight before she died.
Yeah. And to wrap things up, what is your favorite thing about your opponent, Tiffany Romer?
Tiffany Romer is such a joy to have around. She always brings this interesting dynamic of her individual humor. She's a very funny individual. She's not like the run-of-the-mill kind of like tell your overdone joke here, but when she comes into a room, she always makes a joke that everyone can relate to and typically really breaks the ice to where everyone can unite. And I think that's something that she's very dynamic with and that she really brings to our whole organization.
Well, thank you, Shanna, for joining us, and thank you guys for watching, and that about wraps up this interview.